Ohio Lieutenant Governor Jim Tressel visited Marietta on his tour across the state to discuss his new initiative. Our Logan Riggenbaugh talked to him about his initiative and what it will mean for the Mid-Ohio Valley. She joins us live in the studio now. Logan, what can you tell us?
Thank you, Phyllis. Lieutenant Governor Tressel stopped in Marietta to discuss his new initiative, WorkOhio. This new initiative will help connect Ohioans to job opportunities in their communities. Tressel told us what this means for job seekers in the Mid-Ohio Valley. WorkOhio is an online hub for those who are unemployed, underemployed, or looking for a different career. The website helps individuals find job opportunities based on their background, whether they are high school graduates, veterans, over 60 years old, or have disabilities. Lieutenant Governor Tressel believes it's important to help people connect with a job they want and enjoy.
We feel compelled to make sure we do all we can possibly do to give our citizens of Ohio, no matter where they're coming from, if they're in the workforce, see if they can grow. If they're not in the workforce, let's get them in. If they may have some disabilities, we've got places for that. If they're coming out of the military, if they're coming out of recovering addiction, wherever they're coming from, we want to meet them where they are and give them the chance to reach their God-given potential.
Some of the organizations partnering with WorkOhio are Building Bridges to Careers, Ohio Means Jobs, the Washington County Career Center, and the Washington State College of Ohio, and more. If you're interested in looking for a job through WorkOhio, you can visit their website at workohio.gov.